When finished, a short stack will perch on this desert precipice, illuminated by the brilliant blue of sky and the rusty red of clay. One small rock stacked atop another, angles jutting out, creating strong silhouettes against the cliffs. I have built cairns across the West. Red rocks balanced on high windswept mesas, white granite chips in alpine ecosystems, and smooth algae-freckled river rocks have all become small stacked pieces of my art. These disparate cairns do not create a trail easily followed, as one could follow hoof prints in the dust. Weathered by time and place, they cannot last, and that is their beauty. Environmentalist, noun. A person who is interested in or studies the environment and who tries to protect it from being damaged by human activities. Slang, a green. This loaded term is thrown around casually. It is a cap that some wear proudly, others slip into occasionally, and some staunchly reject. Since the beginning of the modern environmental movement in the United States 40 years ago, Greens have dabbled in many issues, ranging from old-growth logging and ocean pollution to public health. These activists were all able to unite under the expansive umbrella of environmentalist, those individuals passionate enough to chain their bodies to trees and fight lengthy battles in the courts. Who you fought defined who you were. But now a faceless enemy has emerged, and Greens must find new criteria for self-definition. Each environmental issue facing society today can be tied back to climate change, whether it is uranium mining, cattle grazing, or dwindling water supplies. Call it natural or anthropogenic, but the impacts of climate change are impending and will be widespread. Yet, the green community in the American West seems more divided than ever about the appropriate response to this global predicament. As we move into a time when protecting the environment can take many different forms, Greens seem to find themselves fighting each other to protect the piece of nature they value most. It certainly raises the question, in an era of climate change, what does it mean to be an environmentalist? Historically, environmentalists have stood staunchly for the natural world and fought an outside other to achieve their objectives. Environmentalists versus logger, environmentalists versus conservative government. They pushed back against those they disagreed with, becoming anti-nuclear or anti-DDT. This stubborn determinism is still important, but in a time of new challenges, a less antagonistic, more cooperative, proactive approach may be most beneficial. Simply being anti-global warming will not get anyone very far. To be an environmentalist now means choosing how to focus your attention, be it on overall ecosystem health or the well-being of a single species. This choice will ultimately color the way goals are set and determine the things you are willing to sacrifice for them. I recently attended the fall meeting of the Sierra Club Desert Committee. Clustered around picnic tables under a protective pavilion, the attendees were overwhelmingly middle-aged plus and committed to preserving the lives of the desert tortoise. The tortoise has quickly become the emblem of opposition to utility-scale solar projects. The meeting soon became a microcosm of the conflicts plaguing the environmental movement as a whole. Passionate tortoise activists asserted that pristine deserts need not be developed, while others, adamant about reducing dependence on fossil fuels, countered that tortoise habitat will be destroyed by climate change anyway if nothing is done to reduce current carbon emissions. Conversations devolved rapidly into pointed accusations and cries to wait for more data. This valuable opportunity for productive collaboration was lost. Each group of environmentalists had chosen different priorities and had a hard time finding the intersections between them, especially because coming to these compromises would require sacrifice. These groups have situated themselves firmly on different sides of the negotiating table. Climate change is a multi-pronged opponent. Some activists point to new energy technologies as the solution, while others are convinced that energy efficiency or bioengineering or carbon sequestration can hold the key. Divided among these approaches, former allies begin to look like enemies. Even among the environmentalists at the Sierra Club meeting, a large contingent of Greens were missing, the renewable energy developers themselves. At the meeting, they were quickly dismissed as enemies, but probably view themselves as progressive environmentalists in the energy sector. Even those present at the meeting who were willing to engage in discussions with these developers were branded sellouts. There seems to be be a prevailing assumption that collaboration is an unnecessary compromise of values. And this causes portions of the movement to push inward upon themselves, instead of harnessing their energy to propel them forward. This will never produce solutions. It will save neither the tortoise nor the climate it thrives in. When redefining an environmentalist in this new age of climate change, the term ought to keep its flexibility, its capacity to encompass all those speaking up for the natural world. But it will mean more than just fighting to protect the places you love. It will mean a willingness to collaborate with others and work towards adaptation and mitigation, even if sacrifices must be made along the way. Climate change is a faceless enemy. It is not a logger, a real estate developer, or a polluting factory. Its effects can be hard to discern. Climate change is not an opponent to underestimate. It is a challenge that will require all hands on deck. It is time for new definition and a new kind of activism within the environmental movement. Hopefully, environmentalists can at least agree upon that.